Okay, I just did the introduction to the ACTREM, and what it's based on is the shape and form of the internal foot. Understanding, seeing, knowing, recognizing the shape and form of the internal foot. Now, I'm going to, at some point here, show you pictures of as many internal feet, whole feet, fresh, as I can find, okay, to back up what I'm going to tell you. But until then, kind of what I'd like to talk about, I started talking about how Einstein said the only thing that keeps him from learning, it might not be an exact quote, was his education. That's because a lot of times we're taught things as facts when really they are not factual. They're someone's interpretation, someone else's conclusion that they came to, and it's taught to us as the truth. Well, unless we check out everything that person did to draw that conclusion, we're not going to really know if that's the truth or not. And of course, we assume that when we go to school or we pay an expert or somebody else goes to school and tells us they have a degree, they've got an education, that they are in the know. And so we're very trusting and we just accept those things as facts. And then we go around repeating them from one to another. And that's how false teaching, false doctrine, false concepts get spread around the world as truth, when in reality, they're just misdrawn conclusions of men who happen to come into a position of authority somewhere, teach it to somebody else, and they just picked it up and ran with it. So what I want to do in these next few videos is I want to talk about some of the things that I have learned both from farriery and from barefoot, natural hoof trimming, natural hoof care, and all the different little methods and people that are out there and the things that they teach and the things that I believed that I have over time found what I believe to be absolutely not true. And there's going to be things that many of you believe, and it's just set in stone in your head, okay? Because you think you've seen it in the foot. But I'm going to show you how maybe it's not what you think. Maybe it's not, I'm not saying people deceive people always on purpose, but a lot of times people can draw wrong conclusions from what they look at. And then what happens is that person teaches it to somebody else. Now, maybe he doesn't really have anything invested in it because it's just his opinion. He taught it to somebody else. They picked it up. They believe it. It moves on. But when men write books or get in positions of authority as teachers, and they make money off of these things they teach, then they have something really invested in it, not just ego. Okay, but that's a big part of it. And so then later down the line, as they continue in their field, and let's say they learn that something they taught was not correct, they're going to try and cover it up. This happens in every field, from religion to politics to consumer goods to just everything. Once you're starting to make money off of it, you got an investment. You can't afford to have people thinking that you didn't know what the heck they're talking about, because some of these things that are taught, some of these things that are applied, bring a lot of damage to people, can even cause death. Okay? So, once you have a big organization with a lot of men in it and a lot of degrees and a lot of ego and a lot of money, things like that, they basically go to work to protect their lives, is what they do. And so, I haven't got anything except my time invested in this, and I was doing it for myself. Okay? So there's no reason for me. I can come up to wrong conclusions, and I have before. And I've come on my own channel and said, hey, I was wrong. You know, so I'm going to talk here in the next few videos about things that I learned in barefoot trimming. I mean, you already know the deal about that I teach about how you shouldn't rasp down this upper wall here. Okay? That was one of the first things I learned that was in error. And why shouldn't you rasp down that upper wall? Well, look how thin it is. Now this is a light colored hoof, but you look at the darker pigmentation, that's the hardest part of the wall. As you get in, it gets softer. Okay, so if you have a flare, which is the wall, you know, that's been tearing out to begin with, and you have a farrier come down and thin this down, and you got a 1,000-pound horse pressing down on that, where the weight ends up all right in here, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to implode from the inside. See, you got flares where they get long like this, and the ground as they walk, it pulls the hoof wall away from this part of the foot. But then you have a type of flare when these guys rasp down these walls and thin it down right here to where the weight of the horse from the inside just pushes it out and into a bulge. Looks almost like a bell. They call them bell flares. Okay, so that was one of the first things I learned. Okay, and I had to make the decision on that myself from what I studied about the makeup of this hoof wall. Okay, so that's just one thing I learned. Farriers call it dressing down the hoof. Why is that? Because they're actually dressing the hoof up, because the feet would get so distorted and flared and ugly looking, they wanted to make it look really nice. So they take a flare that went out like this and rasp it down to make it look like the horse had good feet. Probably the first guy to think of that was some horse trader trying to trade some horse with absolutely horrible feet. And so he just rasped them down all thin and slapped some shoes on it to make it look pretty. You know, so anyway, that's what they call it, dressing down, because they're dressing it up. Yeah. So anyway, that was one of the first things I learned. But okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the things that I no longer believe are true that I have learned and that I was taught in barefoot trimming natural hoof care. Okay, the first thing, it's just going to kind of be random. I'm not going to say I learned these, I'm not going to tell you the order I learned these things, and I can't really remember them. But one of the things that I learned and that I believe is that, okay, when I started barefoot trimming, okay, one of the things I said was that you have to relieve the quarters right here, because there's a natural arch right here in the foot, just like in your foot. You know how you have arches? There's a natural arch right here in the foot, and so you're supposed to relieve the quarters right there. And so I would always take a rasp and make this area shorter. Okay, so and you'll see feet, you'll see where they're broken out, just like this one. Okay, and it sure looks like there's a natural arch there, doesn't it? Okay, now that's somebody's interpretation based on the fact that their feet have arches. Okay, so hey, there's an arch for the horse, there's the heel, there's the arch, there's a toe. Okay, and so don't mind me, I have a speech impediment. I keep saying okay a lot. So I would always relieve the quarters right there. But what I'm going to show you here, I want you to think and consider. Maybe there's another explanation for why the foot on the exterior is like this, with a seeming arch right there. Okay, let's see. We'll look at several things here. We'll look at several things. Okay, first thing we're going to look at, oh, hush, quit it. First thing we're going to look at, is this cast of a dissection I did on the internal foot. Because remember, in the anatomically correct trim, you're following the anatomy of the internal foot. My dog is wanting to bark. Now I want you to look at this foot, the inner foot, from here all the way from the toe through the quarter to the heel. Now I want you to look at that, and I want you to tell me, where's the arch? Do you see an arch on that foot? I'll give you a little time there to look at it. I'll go tell my dog to shush up, maybe. Okay, I needed a ruler. Hold on. I needed a ruler because I wanted to make sure you could see this. Okay, here's one. Let's see. Where's the arch? Just a second. Okay. Where's the arch? Where's the arch on that internal foot? Do you see one? No. See, I didn't see one either. So I started daring to consider that the external capsule is not really supposed to have an arch either, like a human foot, you know, because this is a toe. Technically, the whole foot of the horse is called a toe. Does your toe have an arch? No. Okay, so you don't see an arch on the internal foot. And this ain't just this foot. That's any foot. And I got some other feet here somewhere. Oh, here's an old dried up foot. Okay, this actually, I think this is the same foot. This one and this one. This is a cast of this one when it was fresh. Okay, so I'd like to know where the arch is. Do you see an arch? Oh, maybe it's on the other side. Do you see an arch there? Absolutely not. Okay? So I started thinking, well, maybe the foot doesn't have an arch. You know? And so I'm going to show you now why the foot seemingly has an arch when it really doesn't have an arch. Okay, we're going to set this up here again. Okay, the reason most feet, or a lot of them, look like they have an arch here, basically is because the heels have grown long. The horse has walked on them. See? Okay, let me show you. When the heel grows long, okay, lift up like this. The horse is, let me move this. Okay, when the heel grows long, back here, okay, as the horse walks, okay, and that weight is put, especially at a run, is put on the back of that heel. Okay, slowly these heels get pulled, slowly these heels that are like this start to run under, they're like this. Okay, now this hoof capsule right in here, okay, it has to go somewhere. Okay, when any part moves, another part is going to move. When this here moves, right here, and goes forward, all this in front of it is going to have to go somewhere. So where does it go? Let's see. Let's get a little piece of paper. Just a second here. Tear me a strip. Okay, let's say, where am I? There I am. Here's your hoof capsule. Okay, and this part right here, oh wait, right here, that is the heel. Okay? We're going to hold this part stiff. Oh, look at the buckle. Gee, there's an arch in my paper. Did you see how the paper moved up? Let's put it back again. Okay, now remember, here, we'll do it from the other side since my heel is right here. Okay, heel grows long, horse walks on it, it starts to buckle forward. What's happening to the space? Let's pretend this is the toe and this is the heel. What's happening? I'm getting a little arch right in there, aren't I? Okay, now let's look at this foot again. Okay. Quit saying K. I wish I could get that out of my vocabulary. Okay. Would you all agree with me, please? Okay. All right. So at some point, this horse's heels were too long, and over time, you can even see by the way the horn tubules run here that this has been gone from this, and it has pushed forward like that. Well, what happened to this piece of wall here? It buckled. In fact, if you feel it right here, you can see that it bulges outward right here. See? So, is that supposed to be there? Not necessarily. It's just a mechanical thing that has happened from the heel pressing forward, and so the wall had to buckle up. You see that? That's all that is, because this is off the same horse. There is no arch on the internal foot, is there? This is just a distortion in the wall from the heel running forward. Okay, now, so that's one thing, anyway, that I believe is a big fallacy, that you got to relieve your quarters. Okay? Because I think the horse bears a lot of weight right in through here, into this area here. And so if you relieve the quarters, you're forcing him to bear weight on the toe and on the heel right here. Now, maybe I'm not totally correct on that, but what I am saying is, because I got a lot more thinking to do on all this stuff, but what I am saying is there is no arch on this foot. Okay, now when your shoes are designed, don't they put an arch in them for arch support? Because your foot has an arch. Is not that correct? But the horse's foot does not have an arch right there on the side in the quarter. If the horse has any arch at all, it's in here throughout this whole bowl under the foot. See, a dome. See, this is dome-like in here. A dome is really a bunch of arches. See, so if the horse has an arch, it's under his foot. Right in here. See, not on the side of his foot. Right there. Okay, so this is the second video, and this was about, does the horse have an arch? Should we be scooping the quarters? You know, that's a decision everybody has to make. But I think when I put all this together for you, you will see that you don't need to be scooping your quarters, rasping them down lower, unless you've got jammed up hoof walls and you're trying to do some relief on that. See, and the hoof capsule should perfectly mimic and follow the internal foot.